Do you need some quick, easy, calorie and protein-packed breakfast ideas for your toddler that you can just throw together really easily? Well, today I have you covered with a few of my favorite toddler breakfast ideas that are super easy to make in a short amount of time or prepare ahead of time so that all you need to do is reheat them when your little one is ready to eat. I'm Emma. Welcome to our Montessori home with my 18-month-old twin toddlers. The first thing I am making is a Dutch baby pancake. I will link all of the recipes that I'm using in the description box below if there's anything that you want to try out. This Dutch baby pancake is a sourdough Dutch baby pancake, but you can make these non-sourdough and you just end up using flour instead of sourdough starter. And so if you don't have a sourdough starter, definitely try out one of those recipes. It's really similar. Everything gets added to a blender, which makes it super easy. So you add the sourdough starter, eggs, milk, which I didn't have on hand, so I just used half and half, which I'm fine with because extra calories, which is always good for a toddler who is a little picky. Sweetener, either honey or maple syrup. I like to use honey, some vanilla, and a little salt. You just combine all the ingredients into your blender and then blend it up until it is all smooth. I like to scrape down the sides to just make sure everything gets combined really well. You will preheat your oven to 425 degrees. And then you're going to melt 6 tablespoons of butter into a cast iron skillet. You can either do that on the stove or put your skillet into the oven. You will bake this at 425 for about 15 to 20 minutes. And the butter is going to help it not to stick and make it taste really good. Once the butter is melted, you can take your pan out of the oven and you're just going to pour your batter into the cast iron skillet. It's a very runny batter, and that's normal, so don't be alarmed. It's a much thinner batter than a normal pancake batter, but I like this. It's just so much more efficient than making pancakes and flipping them all because you can just put it all in the oven. This is also commonly referred to as like a puff pancake, so that's another name for this. This recipe that I'm using is from Lisa over from Farmhouse on Boone. So that's the recipe that I will link in the description. And I will also find just a traditional Dutch baby or puff pancake that is not sourdough that you could try out as well. To serve this, just slice it up. I cut my boys into smaller pieces just so it cools faster. And then you can serve it with either maple syrup or you could defrost some frozen berries and have that on it. I've seen people use like cooked down apples on here. Really anything that you want to top it with is just fine. I usually just go with maple syrup because it's kind of the fastest, easiest thing to do. But I'm sure they would love any berry option as well. This same day, I am going to get started soaking some nuts for tomorrow's breakfast, which is going to be banana nut porridge. And so I'm taking 1 cup of raw almonds and a cup of raw pecans, and I'm just covering them in water. And this is going to soften them and allow me to blend them up to make this delicious, easy nut porridge. So the nuts need to soak for about 12 hours. So you can do this like in the evening before you go to bed. You could do it in the day, in the morning after you make one breakfast so that you have them ready, and you could make this in the evening and then it's just all ready to go in the morning, so you don't even have to mix it up because you can just keep it in the fridge and reheat it. Rinse off the nut until the water runs clear. For this, you will also use your blender. You can also use a food processor. Also, if you soak them and then you can't use them right away, you can still rinse them off and just leave them in the fridge. That's actually what I had done here. I left them in the fridge for, I don't know, maybe even another day and then made this. Add the soaked nuts to the blender, and then you're going to use 1 can of coconut milk. You could try this with heavy cream as well. I haven't done that, but I think it would work out really similar because the heavy cream and the coconut milk are a very similar consistency. To that, you're going to add 1 large ripe banana. My bananas seemed a little small, and so I did 1.5. And the banana really helps to give the nut porridge more sweetness. So the riper that it is, the sweeter that it will be. So just keep that in mind. You would always add a little maple syrup or honey to this to make it even sweeter if you wanted to. But I'm going to show you how these toppings of dates and apple actually help to sweeten it even a little bit more without adding any additional like sweetener to the porridge itself. Blend this up for quite a while so that it is nice and smooth. Depending on the quality of your blender will depend depend on how fine you can get this. I find that my blender doesn't make it completely smooth. However, when I was at home and I had a Vitamix with my parents, that made it very smooth. My blender tends to leave some chunks of nuts. So if texture is an issue, keep that in mind, that this porridge does have a bit of a nutty, grainy texture. I think it's really delicious, but some people might struggle with that texture. You'll want to warm up some of the porridge. I just microwave mine for a little bit and then top it with some chopped dates and apples. You really could add any toppings that you want to this. The porridge itself is pretty simple and doesn't have like a ton of strong flavors, just that banana and cinnamon come out a little bit. I mixed in those toppings so that my boys didn't just pick that off and avoid eating anything else. And I made myself a bowl of this as well. You can store the leftovers in a Tupperware in the fridge for a couple of days. I find even up to a week, it is still good if it's staying refrigerated. Another breakfast that I made this week was oatmeal. And it's not just your basic oatmeal. I like to do peanut butter and cream to really like thicken it up, make it tastier, gooier, and simply add more calories to this breakfast. So just getting some water and oats going on the stove. You could even make it more calorie dense by cooking it in milk. I do about 1.5 to 2 cups of water for every cup of oatmeal and just cook that on the stove. If you have a learning tower, that's a really great way to have your little ones see what's going on, see what you're doing in the kitchen. It has definitely been a game changer for my boys to be able to be up on their learning tower. And I like it because they can still see, but I don't necessarily have to have them close to the stove, which I don't want them close to the stove because it's hot, but they can still see what's going on. Then the part that I am having them help me with is pouring in the cream and helping do some of the mixing. So I just put some heavy cream into small little pitchers for them, scooping out some oatmeal into a bowl. I like to add a lot of peanut butter. It's one of their favorite things. And then they'll have a chance to add in their heavy cream with their pitchers, which also helps cool off the oatmeal much faster so that they can eat it sooner. I always like to show them what it is that I want them to do before I am giving them the chance to do it so that they can follow my example of what I want them to do. This is probably one of their favorite breakfasts to have. They just love it and can eat, honestly, probably this whole bowl together. During the week, I am all about quick and easy breakfasts. So another easy meal I give the boys in the morning are these breakfast sausages we get at Costco and hard-boiled eggs. I like to prepare hard-boiled eggs even the night before and have them peeled in a container. I had a few in the fridge to give them, but I needed to prep a few more to have on hand. I love this small little egg cooker. It holds 6 eggs. You just add a little bit of water, plug it in, and turn it on. And then when it beeps, they're perfect. They're so easy to peel. I'll put a link to this in the description box below if you want to get one. It has made making hard-boiled eggs so easy because I don't have to boil water and I don't have to get out a pot and all of that. So it's probably one of my favorite kitchen gadgets. And then I just microwave these sausages, cut them up into pieces, and give them a little bit of a hard-boiled egg. And this is a super simple, fast breakfast with some good protein. Honestly, there probably are better things to be giving them, but sometimes we just need those easy buttons, especially when it comes to feeding toddlers in the morning. All right, my last toddler breakfast idea for you today is an oatmeal bake. And so this is a banana pecan oatmeal bake, but I actually didn't put the pecans in it. And you can do so many different things with oatmeal bakes. I've made some other really amazing ones: peanut butter chocolate oatmeal bakes, apple cinnamon oatmeal bakes. You can just do so much with it. And so I ended up making a double batch of this oatmeal bake just so that we had even more on hand for the weekend. The recipe for this is 2 cups of oatmeal, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, 2 cups of any milk that you want. So you could use regular milk, or you could use like almond milk or cashew milk. Then you'll add a 1/4 cup of maple syrup, 1 egg, a tablespoon of coconut oil that has been melted, and a teaspoon of vanilla. And then to that, you're going to add 2 ripe bananas. So you can slice these up. You can see my boys help me with that just a little bit. I've also done it with mashed bananas that I had in the freezer that I just thawed out, and that worked out really well as well. The recipe also says you could do 1/2 cup of unsweetened applesauce in that. And then you can do 1.5 cups of chopped pecans, or sometimes we add chocolate chips on, which we did on this day. That's a really great, simple way for your toddler to get involved in something that you're baking, is just sprinkling something on top of whatever you're making. I like to just even mix this all up directly in the pan. This recipe comes from Eating Bird Food. It was just one that I've found, and I've come back to it a lot. And she has a ton of different oatmeal bake ideas on her website. I'll put that in the description box below if you want to check out one of these oatmeal bakes. Well, guys, those are my breakfast ideas for you. We went through a whole week with making an oatmeal bake, banana nut porridge, a Dutch baby pancake, hard-boiled eggs and sausage, as well as loaded oatmeal with peanut butter and heavy cream. And so those are some of my go-to toddler breakfast ideas. I hope you've gotten some new ideas of things to try in the morning that hopefully your toddler will eat and enjoy, and things that you can feel good about giving them. I want to end with a quote by Dr. Maria Montessori. She says, "We do not teach the children these things, practical life activities, to make little servants of them, but because we have observed that of their own accord, children actually take the greatest interest in perfecting all the movements of daily life." If you're new to my channel, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and join me every week for a little Montessori and homemaking inspiration. I will see you next week for another video. Have a great day.